Look, if you have listened to this show before or heard me talk literally ever, you probably have a pretty good understanding that I have no love lost for how we handle women's health care in the USA. It's like basically a Supreme Court mandate that it doesn't matter if women live or die in this country. Their words, not mine. One thing that particularly galls me, though, is how we treat, or actually how we don't treat new mothers. I have spoken at length here before about abortion bans and the child care crisis, but today I have some pretty serious choice words for something that has had a stigma attached for too long: postpartum depression, and how there is so little we do for new moms who suffer from it. Having a baby, of course, should be joyful, but it can also be incredibly isolating and a physical and mental challenge. It can be confusing to one day be meeting your friends out for dinner and then the next night providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner from your body for a person you just met. It's hard even under the best circumstances. And postpartum depression does not care if you had an easy pregnancy, a good delivery, all the help in the world, or the healthiest food. It can come for anyone. And it's just one of the many things that women are expected to suffer in silence. In fact, 70% of U.S. counties lack enough maternal mental health providers, which means if you are struggling postpartum, you're probably struggling without medical attention. After you pop out your baby, you get 1 6-week checkup, and then your doctor goes back to being harder to find than looking for Waldo without your glasses on. This is Choice Words. I'm Samantha Bee. My guest today is the amazingly talented singer and songwriter, Rachel Platten. You know her from Fight Song, which has been streamed more than 1 billion times. And her new album, I Am Rachel Platten, is out soon. Until then, her new single, I Know, is out now, and it is so pretty. It's a deeply personal album, and she has been super honest with how her postpartum experience has shaped her music. So take a listen and make good choices. Okay, I'm in a hotel room in New Hampshire. And for those who are tuning in visually, you can tell I'm in a hotel room because there's a painting of a sailboat on the wall.
The art, yeah, it's a dead giveaway.
Dead giveaway. Okay, all right. I want to thank you so much for being here. If people don't know, we know each other. We don't know each other, but I like you so much because you
you so much.
We had so much fun. We worked together. We did a segment that was so funny for Full Frontal back in the day. I'll reshare it because it's so good, and you're so funny in it.
That.
Yeah,
well,
you're
I don't
amazing.
think I was that funny.
No, you were.
I was cracking up at you the whole time because I was like in a bathroom singing,
yes.
right?
It was like to fortify myself. You would sit in my bathroom.
That's right.
and sing Fight Song
to you
to me
when you needed it.
To the point where I was like, Rachel Platten, get out of my bathroom. Give me peace. And you were like, no.
I was like, I won't leave until you're empowered. Not until you're empowered.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was listening to your new album. We are going to talk all about your new album, which is great. It's great. It's great.
Like Tony the Tiger.
It's goddamn great. It is. But our entry point into this conversation is going to be about choice, because the show's all about choice. We always introduce the concept of the podcast to people, and we're like, it's all about choices. Like, think of a choice. And I think it's really agonizing for people because they're like, what's the choice
which one?
Made the biggest?
Right.
Which one? Because our life is made up of minor ones, major ones, whatever. Sometimes a minor choice turns out to be like
becomes the major.
So like, are you good at making decisions? Are you good at are you just like fundamentally, are you good at deciding things? Do you
Hmm.
mull? Do you go to your thinking corner?
I don't think that I'm good at making little decisions, like
Okay.
daily decisions. I'm actually love being around people that are just kind of more bossy in that way.
Okay.
Like I love having best friends who are the kind of vibe that they're just like, this is what we're doing, and this is,
Okay.
and this is what you should do, and this is where you should put your daughter for school, and this is what you should do for class.
Oh,
So like
great.
little decisions, I'm pretty type B, and I'm like kind of like my husband would like roll his eyes and be like, "You are so controlling. I don't know what the dick you're on, but like, nice try." But I feel that I'm not that
Right.
decisive in terms of small things. But
Right.
when it comes to big things and like core decisions and big things, I do feel like I'm an excellent decision maker, and
Mm,
I listen to my gut, and I'm good at tapping into my intuition. And I'm
okay.
practicing and learning tapping into that intuition for these littler things because the littler things, for some reason, are tougher for me.
That's so interesting. It's interesting that you would even recognize that and reflect on that
Well,
in
I'm
your life.
very enlightened. I'm very enlightened.
I can
Yeah.
tell.
A
I
lot,
can
a
tell.
lot's going to surprise you about me.
I feel like just like if people have questions about how to do things, they should just call us up and just ask us and we'll
Mm.
solve stuff for them. No prob.
I was having the same thing that I imagine other guests, or maybe you too, have felt like, what's the one? What's the one I can talk about it?
Right.
What's a big one? Should I talk about a big one? Or
Right.
is that too obvious? Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, well, what did you decide on?
Oh,
I
wait, it's
mean,
the
okay,
time. I
no.
didn't
No,
know.
I mean, no, like if you were we're there. I just feel like I need to know what you I
Yeah.
know it is really hard because you go, "Oh, like it is really
Yeah.
hard." But do
Yeah.
you
Okay.
okay, do you
Yes.
have
Okay.
one?
So I thought about it, and I have several, but I think
Okay.
that the one that I'm going to talk about, well, let me just tell you two. And then you see, this is my
Okay.
indecisiveness in my decision making about
I
these
love
small
it.
things.
I
All
love
right.
it.
So one is about the choice that I made to become a parent and have a
Okay.
baby. And I was late. It was like 36. I was
Yep.
kind of moving in the music industry, and it was a kind of, okay, really going to put your career on hold if you decide this.
Right.
But the one that I think is most interesting in my life and that impacted me the most, besides becoming a mom,
Mhm.
was this choice when I was in college. I was an international relations major.
Oh.
Picture me, 19. I was like restless and angsty and
Mhm.
wanting more. It was the beginning of my own heroine's journey of like something more is out there. I can feel it.
Right.
I was a good girl. I grew up in Boston, and I think, as you
Mhm.
know, and I was doing the path that I thought we're supposed to do, college
Right.
and maybe
Sure.
graduate school. I don't know. Be normal. Don't be an artist. Don't be crazy.
Right.
But I had this call for music in me. And
Okay.
I was in a class. I was in a international relations class, and this man came in. He came in and he presented this study abroad program for Trinidad.
Okay.
And I was planning on going to Spain because I speak Spanish, and I was excited about the normal thing that you do if you're in a liberal arts college and you go to fucking Europe and
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. And that's what I thought the path I was going to be was on. And all of a sudden, my soul lit up. I saw this presentation on Trinidad. I saw Carnival. I saw the costumes. I saw the music. I heard the steel drums. I felt in my soul, I need to
Right.
go there. I need to go there. And I switched everything around, and on an impulse and on a whim, I was like, I'm going to Trinidad. And it was the weirdest decision, according to my family. They were like, what? Where is Trinidad? For those of
Right.
you who don't know, it's a small island in the Caribbean. It's 12 miles off the coast of Venezuela. It has an incredibly rich history that we don't need to dive into, but music is one of the foundational, you know,
Right.
that heartbeat, backbones of their culture. And that was something that he talked about, was how music was so integral in everything from culture to politics to religion. Like music was just the heartbeat of this country. And I realized I need to be there. It's going to somehow bring this musician in me alive. And so I went, and it did.
What? That's incredible.
I chose the right one.
Amazing. You chose correctly, 100%. But that is like I love that story so much. So you were just really called to it. And so tell me about your experience in Trinidad. So you switched your study abroad. You were like, I'm going to Trinidad. Everyone was like, okay, let me change
Yes.
all the paperwork. What are you going to
Yes.
do there? And you were like, I don't know. Go to Carnival?
Wait, first of all, exactly. I got to Trinidad and knew nothing, knew no one, knew nothing about even songwriting. And I
Okay.
knew, and I signed up for a course of songwriting classes with a famous in the Caribbean artist named Andre Tankard, who
Uh-huh.
has since passed away, and he was a calypso artist. And I had an internship with him, and he was going to supposedly teach me how to write songs. And then I
Okay.
also had an internship at a record label called Rituals Music in Port of Spain, and that was my life, and that was what I did. I got there, and I was thrown into that, and I was at the University of West Indies, their dorms. All of it was just so confronting and different and wild and scary, and it was such a brave, wild thing to decide that it forced songs out of me. It was like I knew somehow that I needed to write songs, and I needed some kind of experience. I needed something
Right.
to rub up against, some kind of life to like
Right. You needed like friction and
friction.
excitement and like
Yes.
just to
And
upend
confrontation and
everything.
like
Yeah.
fear, and there was just so much that I had to face about myself and my world. And it was a complicated time in the world too. I think it was 2000, I want to say 2002. So it was right when us
Mm,
liberal arts college students were really like trying to understand, well, how does the world actually see us?
right.
Because we at that time, I think we all thought America's a superhero and blah blah blah. And
Right.
going abroad, I had gone to Italy the year before, and going abroad to the Caribbean was a very different story, where it was like, wait, is America the bad guy? What's going on? I'm
Right.
so
Right.
confused. I'm so much less comfortable talking about politics now because I'm
Huh.
just so not aware of stuff. I'm so much in my songwriting, and I have young
Hmm.
babies. But then, if you had interviewed me then, I would have had a million opinions, felt so comfortable vocalizing them.
Right.
Anyway, that was what I was writing songs about, if you can believe it. I was writing songs about understanding, what does it feel like to be the other? What
Right.
does it feel like to be in a room where I'm the only one who looks like this, versus in a room at home where everyone almost looks like me?
Right.
And I've never had that experience. And so my earliest songs were to understand the world around me. They were so deep and so
Right.
emotional. And just like you think that the first songs an artist writes might be about boys, and some of them were,
Right.
but, or parties or something, but mine were
Sure.
wildly deep. There was one called like Solo Sailor, and it was about the slave trade and like trying to understand that. I
Oh
mean, I
my,
was desperate to understand and empathize and learn. Yeah, I know.
that's amazing. Do you listen to those? Do you listen to your first songs ever? Do you?
Oh, they're so bad. My mom like
Okay.
has them all. She's like, they're wonderful. They're not good.
And
They're
did you write?
terrible.
Did you just write and write and write? Were you just like, I don't know what's
I
happening right now. I'm
started
going to
writing.
eat some food. I'm going to
Well,
write some songs.
you have no idea how right you were about the eat some food part.
Oh,
I ate so much food, and I
I,
actually
oh yeah.
gained quite a bit of weight. And I was, my mom came to visit me, and they were like, "Oh my, you look so happy,
You look robust and
healthy."
healthy.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love Trinidadian food. I love Trinidadian food. So
Oh, the
like
rotis.
I'm literally, that's so funny because I was talking about Trinidadian food with my son today because he loves it too. And he was like, can we
Mm.
make country captain chicken? Because I love it so much. I'm like, hey, we could try. Like, we're not going to make it
That's so funny.
well.
Why do you know about Trinidadian food? Have you been to Trinidad or
I
just?
I have been to Trinidad and I grew up in Toronto
There's a lot of
in
Trinidadians in Toronto.
yeah, and my high school was in like we called it Little West Indies like at the time. That's where my high school was.
Yes,
So all my friends were
yes.
Trinidadian or Jamaican like and we just ate like that was just like a
Oh my
part
God,
of my
Samantha.
whole high school life in a way. Like it was just woven into the
Wow.
fabric of everyday life
And you've experienced maybe carnival a little bit, and like I don't know if
in
they
that
have
way.
Juve at the carnival there, but that was the most. I mean, it was such an amazing experience to be let in
Right.
to that, to get a sneak, like a peek in a way that like I don't really feel was earned for me, but
Right.
I just was
But
allowed to
everyone's
because of the
generous. Everyone's like,
program.
they're just like
Everyone's generous
generous.
and like, great, here, you want to learn and you have an open heart and an earnest
Right.
heart. We'll teach you what our experience is like, and come, I'll teach you the real meaning. You're listening to steel drums. Do you know why We play
Right.
steel drums. It's not just for entertainment, and not just the Caribbean sound. It's because that was the only instruments that slaves had, and they were trash cans, and they got dented by the rain, and they realized that the rain was denting them and made different sounds based on how dented they were. And
Wow.
so the music was out of necessity and out of desperation and like thirst. And though I feel almost afraid to be like, I understand, because what right do I have to understand that? A
Sure.
part of my soul understands the need for music, you know, and
Right.
certainly after the last 5 years that I've of really a deep battle with mental health that I was pretty tough public about. We can go into it if you want, but
Yeah.
I understand the need and the hunger for music to save your life when you have nothing else, in any whatever way that resonates for you.
That is so, it's actually amazing to hear you talk about this because it's so funny to me that you could have ever had a different vision of your life. Speaking to you now, and actually even listening to your new album and like hearing that like pulsing need to make music that is inside you, it's so impossible for me to imagine that there was a
Mm,
version of you who was like, I guess I go to law
mm.
school next. Like,
I know.
what's
I
step
know.
E and F and G on my list of 10 things that I need to accomplish so I can pay my mortgage?
It's hard for me to imagine that girl
Right.
too, and yet it was so repressed in me. Like
Right.
this artist was so buried, and I was so
Hmm.
afraid to be different and to follow a path that would scare my friends and family and be
Right.
something that was, you know, I listened to you on I think a podcast with one of my friends, maybe Kate Bowler, was it?
Oh yeah,
Were you on
yeah, I
Kate's podcast?
did. Yeah, she's
Okay.
great. She's great.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah.
And I know that I remember you talked about growing up in that lonely house in
Oh
Toronto, is
yeah.
that right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that was you. I'm
Yes.
glad.
That old hospital, an old veterans
Yeah.
hospital.
So
Old.
that was so interesting to me. I love you, and so I was listening to it anyway. Just
Aw.
but listening to it, I learned about you, and like your life. It makes sense that you are doing something artistic and creative and wild and different, because if you grew up in a weird old haunted house
Sure,
in a room
sure.
by yourself, what the hell else are you going to go into a normal career? Like, no,
Right. Impossible.
it would be
Impossible.
weird if you were like an
Yeah.
administrator at in HR.
Right. But you're a beautiful singer. Like, were you, even when you were studying international relations and you were like, I guess I go to the UN next, were you singing? Were you
Yeah, okay, but in an a cappella group, like
okay?
in a rigid within
In a
boundaries,
rigid,
a way that felt
oh,
safe in
okay.
with rigidity. I was like in musicals. I was in an a
Yeah.
cappella group. I was the
Okay.
director. I was a nerd, like dum bum 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 bum. And
Okay. Yeah.
it was very like, how will you let
Yeah.
me express my creativity? That's how I will. Let me ask permission about where may I do it? Where may I sing?
Right.
Oh, in
Right.
choir, great, I'll sing. Oh, in a cappella group,
Okay.
I'll sing there. In a musical, I'll sing. It was
Okay.
never, and I played
Structured,
piano
like
classically, right?
structure,
Like, yeah,
competition, like
yeah. My
lines.
like even my piano playing, I studied classically since I was 5, and it was classical. There were rules. There was black and white notes you follow. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, now lose all of that and
Right.
find the artist and what
Right.
she wants to do, and
Right.
color outside the lines. And no
Right.
one invited me to it. Not that they were supposed to, but
Right.
I needed Trinidad, and this choice that I made,
Right.
strangely, it was the first choice I made in my life. Now that I think about it, that was truly outside the norm lines, outside the rules, outside the rule box, that shocked everyone. And it was setting me up for years of that to come, of
I,
decisions that I just started to realize, okay, I don't care anymore what you say I can do. Now I need to decide for myself and follow my own path.
can I be honest with you? I could actually cry. This is a beautiful story. I just feel
Mm.
like your whole life was you like just doing I'm crying. Oh my god, you made me cry. There's some things like I feel so tenderly. I'm like, you did all this. You didn't even know how much you were training to be
No.
ready to have your heart like pulled out of your chest. Like, it's
Right.
awesome. You
Yeah.
set all the conditions. You did everything right,
Yeah.
and then you did the most right thing you could do without even knowing.
I love that you said it like
Like,
that. I
ah,
love how you put that. and it felt like the most wrong thing. And it
Right.
was the scariest decision ever. I got there and
Yeah.
I remember being like, what the dick have I gotten myself into?
Right.
Where am I? What? I am so far away. I don't even know how to exist or how to be or what the norm is.
Yeah.
And and then you're right. It was the most right thing I ever did because I learned to write songs. I was forced
Yeah.
to write poems because I was so alone and lonely and scared, and the poetry, like I needed it. I needed,
Hmm.
like we said, the friction, the something wrong in order for the rightness to come out.
Oh my, I
Yeah.
have literal chills. You are a musician, you're a writer, you're an
Mm-hmm.
artist.
Mm-hmm.
Do you even like, I get, this is a weird question. Do you have to make the decision to be vulnerable? You've been so vulnerable. Do you have to, like, when
Oh.
you're writing your new album, do you have to go,
Mm.
did you have to think to yourself? Did you have to go to that special place in your room and go, am I ready to be this raw? Like, how raw
Mm.
can I really be? Like, how raw can I be and still sing these songs every time out on tour or like
Oh.
whatever?
I'll answer it in a couple of different ways. One, in the way that they are Sam has listened, and you guys will hear them soon, and some of you have heard some of them. But they are very raw, and they're very vulnerable, and they're very real, and they're about a mental health crisis, a woman finding herself and losing herself, a mother
Hmm.
becoming a mother, and and
Yeah.
joy and love, and it's about really like the heroine's journey of, succumbing, falling to your knees, being in the dark, crying mercy,
Yeah.
finally surrendering and finding freedom again. And like, that's what it tells the story of. And so when I sing them now, it took me a minute in
Mm.
therapy and journaling and very hard work to be okay to sing them on tour, because
Okay.
you were right on. They are so personal, and they were my medicine when I was
Right.
breaking. So it
Right.
was really hard to not be re-traumatized by them when I first started singing them in public.
Hmm.
And I was a little bit, but I'm a really hard worker. And no matter what
Right.
it is, I work my butt off. And so when it was like, and I have an incredible therapist, I'm so lucky. And so when it was time for me to work on this, we worked and I worked, and now I can sing them. And it's almost like not a role,
Mm.
but it's like I can sing them with joy and remembrance of the pain, but I'm not there anymore. But when I was
Okay.
writing them, there was no intentional decision to be any one way or the other.
Hmm.
They were what I had to say. They were coming out of me if I wanted them to or not. They had to be written. They were medicine when I was
Hmm.
breaking. They were for me. And that
Right.
that was another thing that happened for the first time since Fight Song and that era.
Right.
I no longer cared what do people want from me anymore.
Right.
How do I stay and be the empowerment girl or not? What do I need? Because I am breaking, I am losing myself, I am losing my mind, I am not okay. And so music became a lifeline, and there was no choice to be vulnerable or not. I just had to be.
You just had to be because the artist
I
just
had,
lives. It's
and
just what you
because
do.
God, I believe, was like coming through me, healing me with my songs. Like I was
Right.
on my knees crying in the middle of the night, Mercy. And that song, Mercy, that I released a couple months ago,
Hmm.
was it just came in 15 minutes. It was like a and I
Right.
didn't write it. I like didn't write it. There are ones that I feel like I wrote, but that one was just done coming through me. And so
So you were
um
just like a conduit.
yeah,
You were just
a
like,
conduit. Yes,
I'm
yes,
just
yes,
like,
yes. I need
it's
this. I was begging. I was like, help me, help me,
right.
help me. And the answer was through my songs.
You have two kids. What do you wish that you had known about pregnancy and the postpartum experience before you experienced it yourself? Like, could anyone have told you in a way?
Oh my
It's
God. A friend tried to give me a book called The Fourth Trimester when I was
okay.
pregnant. And I think I was in such denial.
Okay.
Maybe a part of me, some very wise, larger than me part of me knew what I was about to experience and felt
Mm,
so much disgust for that book.
right.
Like it was like this, because I started to read it and it was a woman being very, like very honest about the brutal experience she had with postpartum depression and
Okay.
with her vaginal walls, like all the kind of stuff that you have no idea about before
Right.
you're a
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah.
And it was all of that. And I was just like, get that book so far away from me. And I also had a little bit of, not a little bit, quite a lot of the LA BS, like spiritual bypass thing going on, where I was like, good
Sure.
vibes only. Like, I don't want that negative book around me. Like, oh my God. It's fucking absolute lunacy. Like,
I don't want to manifest anything. If I touch
I
the
don't want
cover
to
of the book,
manifest
it's going
it.
to go inside
Literally.
me. I don't want it.
Insane. And it was must have been so much repression. It must have been a part of me knowing it was coming, that like something had to break, the dam had to
Right.
break at some point. And but so I don't know if someone could prepare me. My mother, when I was pregnant with my second,
Mm-hmm.
and for those of you guys that don't know that are listening, I suffered very publicly and very extremely with postpartum depression with both of my babies. With my second, after I'd healed from my first, my mom asked me when I was pregnant, are you afraid of it happening again?
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that I had just been through this and had worked so hard in therapy and understood that I would not repress it again. And yet I was like, Mom, ugh, why are you bringing that on me? That is not going to happen. I mean, I want to hug myself so much back then and just
Right.
be like, oh, baby, like, come here. I know you're so afraid. And
Right. Right.
And I think I was just so scared of it happening that I wanted nothing to do with like remembering it. And now, since really truly falling to my knees and reaching the
Mm-hmm.
bottom, which those of you who have really had your, dark night of the soul know what I'm talking about. Like the bottom
Mm-hmm.
when you think it's the bottom and then you're like, I'm still falling.
Right.
This
God
is
damn
what
it.
yeah.
So we're still going.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And I just, before I had reached that point of breaking, I still kind of had this idea of magical thinking of like, I can pray it away or wish it away or Reiki it away or whatever,
Right.
and until I really realized like at a certain point, you have to face your demons and you have to face it head on and you have to allow it all in and you have to allow yourself to integrate the dark and the light, and you can't run away because it'll just find another way in.
When you make a decision to talk about it, like to be so public with it, I really do I think it helps people. I just think it really helps people. How did you, listen,
I hope
even
so.
if, look, it does, it's not like, and I don't mean helps people in the way that they go, now I know what to do. It's more like, now I know exactly what my path out of this is. It's more like they just don't feel, you don't feel like alone.
Alone.
Like if
I think that's it.
someone who's successful and appears to like have it all, and like if that person can like hit the wall, just like then maybe it's not just me.
I think so. Honestly, I think so. And whenever I listen to people that I admire talk about their deep lows, it brings me so much relief. And the same thing, knowing like, okay, well, if that person who seems to have it all together also experiences pain and devastation and loss and they're human, like, okay, then maybe I'm not so weird. And so the first moment of this vulnerability, like, it's actually funny, Sam, because when we met at that time, I think it was like 2016 or 2017. I don't remember.
Yes. Yeah, it would have been
2017.
2017. Yeah.
I still hadn't gone through this journey, so I still wasn't talking vulnerably. And actually something funny was that I would feel like around the whole Fight Song release and Stand By You and my album, that I was only showing everyone this one side of me that I thought they wanted to see. And I thought people needed me to be sweet and grateful and empowered and I didn't realize that I could actually really be myself. And that was maybe something that would have benefited me even more, to be able to sustain the kind of fame and attention I was getting instead of running away from it and being terrified and almost losing myself underneath the song. Like, people don't know who actually sings that song. If you ask the majority of people, they're like, didn't Taylor or Katie or Kelly? I'm like, no.
Well,
nope,
you know what? I was just telling my producers before we hopped on that actually I met up with my friends today at their house, and I was like, you know the song.
I bet they didn't know.
I know. I said, you know this. I know you know the song Fight Song. They were like, Rachel Platten. I was like, I'm talking to her today.
All right.
So
maybe I'm wrong.
You know what?
Maybe I'm wrong.
I know. I know that it happens.
Some people,
but I just want to
Yeah.
say that I have very high quality friends, and they
You know what, Sam?
understand.
I really appreciate that. I needed a little that. Yeah. I think though that I used to be upset about it, and I used to feel sad and like
Right.
be like, "Ah." But now I understand what happened. Now I understand. Like, well, I didn't reveal myself. I was so afraid of it. I was so afraid after 15 years of trying to get it and finally came
Right.
that it would go
Right.
away. So how do I make it stay? Okay, be vanilla. Be so pleasant and just so agreeable,
Right.
and don't say anything wrong and don't do anything wrong, and just try to cling on to this and be just like Taylor and just like Miley or whoever's famous at the time.
Right.
Just, you know,
That's like the opposite of your experience in Trinidad. So then you have this success. Literally everyone knows your song. I mean, everybody knows that song. It's just such a known. We all know I could sing it right now. But like, it's actually being very well known for something or being very famous for that thing is very different from what you think it's going to be when it happens.
girl.
Right?
Oh my
Very
God.
different.
Yes.
Very different.
Very different.
Yeah.
Very different. Yeah. Yeah.
And I do think that some people are just like super built for it, probably because they're sociopaths or whatever. Whatever. That was mean. Some people are built for it, though. They can just absorb.
Yeah.
They can just like absorb the light, and
Yeah.
it's like feeds it's like their energy source. It's like chlorophyll.
And maybe
in a
it doesn't
plant.
change them.
And
But
maybe
I
it
don't know
doesn't
how it
change them.
doesn't change you. How doesn't it
Right.
change you? It's so weird. Fame is so weird. Everyone acts like you're specialer than everyone else. But you're not.
Right. But
you're
you're
just
not.
a human being. You're not. And then you have to deal with your family who's like, who the hell do you think you are? And like, and you're like, well, don't you know I'm actually specialer than you.
Everybody told me I was really special. They told me at the Good Morning America that I was really super special. Why don't you all agree with that?
Pretty sure that I'm specialer than you. So
and then your song became part of the Clinton campaign in 2016. But I have heard you say that you in your gut that the context didn't really feel right to you. But then it has a life. It had a life of its own. So what does it feel? I guess what does it feel like when the thing that you have birthed is really co-opted by something else?
It just became so much bigger than me. Like the song and the ride almost became, I felt like I was holding on by the tail of it, just trying to catch it and ride it. And like, I was so afraid, like I said, of losing. And maybe the only thing I haven't talked about in this is from that gap, from deciding that at 19 that I wanted to go to Trinidad, and I ended up staying for almost a year. From that gap back into New York City, where I came back with my little dumb songs and tried to make it, I had a lot of work and heartbreak and no's and 13 years of struggling and traveling around the country in a touring van and a bus and a car and selling CDs out of my suitcase and printing them myself. I mean, there was like so much that I built up, writing thousands of songs until I finally wrote Fight Song. Right. And so when I finally wrote Fight Song and everyone finally paid attention after years of ignoring my art, it was the weirdest, most jarring, confusing, wonderful, horrible thing, because I just was so afraid of the rug being pulled. Like, I finally got this, and I had been so close before, and it had been taken away. Like, I almost had a record deal, and then they took it away at the last minute. So I was so afraid of losing it that I was just, yes, you need me, yes, okay, yes, I'll do that. Sure, I'll do Sam's show. I don't like Sam.
I don't hate her. She represents everything I hate, but I'll do it on a Saturday. God damn it.
Fine.
No, do I have
that
to?
That was an easy yes. No, I actually remember that in that campaign, that was like the one joyful thing of that awful campaign of promoting my second album, that I felt so out of touch with myself and my label.
Right.
It was a pressure. It was all pressured. I was being pressured by Columbia, my label, my manager. Everyone was like, how can you can't turn this down.
Right.
You can't turn, can't turn, who are you to turn that down? She wants that song. You can't turn it down.
What's your follow-up? What do you got? What do you got next?
Yeah.
What's coming up? Like, what's your next hit?
Right.
Like, let's be a hit machine as opposed to an artist, which, like, that's hard.
It was a confusing time. And it became too big for me
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to control the narrative of, obviously.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was maybe the punchline of jokes for, political pundits. And then maybe
Right.
it was some little girl in a hospital's saving grace that saved her life. And the
Right.
dichotomy between those two
Right.
things was so confusing to me.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that I was like, this is not mine anymore.
Right.
This is yours. And I almost wanted to remove myself from all of it and run away.
Well, now you've been on this goddamn journey. You've been so open. Again, if I can say, you've made an incredible choice to open yourself up. Like, it's actually, I'm going to say this, it's actually rare to meet an artist who is willing to say that lots of success really fucking sucks. Lots of parts of it are terrible and very difficult. And here's the path to like where I want to be. And this is, and it's like being in the spin cycle of a washing machine a lot of the time.
Yes. Yeah.
Very confusing. And then you've had to fight, in a way, oh my God, you've had to fight, song, your way out of, like you've
yes.
fought.
Yes. I had to fight song my way out of it. I did.
You did. And you have fought so hard.
Horrible.
And you've made something so beautiful out of all of this. And so
your dog agrees.
Your dog is a beautiful
Did you hear
singer.
him bark? I don't know.
I did.
Go back to your compliment. I didn't mean to. No, I want more of that compliment, please.
No more
what
compliment.
were you saying?
No, now you've gone back to the heart of what it is that you do. And you've actually, you've matured. And now you have these two children who feed you in a totally different way. Isn't it? I do think there is there's children. I mean, children are incredible. Motherhood is a wild ride. But it is, isn't it? So it's incredible at the end of the day to be like, well, I made you, so I can do anything.
Yeah. I don't think I say that to myself enough. I think I bet you are really healthy with how you like love on yourself about it, because I know you're sort of joking and you're laughing at yourself, and I'm not letting you have the joke because I'm being way too intense.
Right.
But I wish I said that to myself more. That's a beautiful thing to say. Like, hey, I made life.
Yeah.
I'm awesome.
Guess what? You're a fucking warrior.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You don't always have to believe that about yourself. Like, no one ever always believes that about themselves. That would be so annoying. But occasionally it's great to like look in the mirror and be like, yeah, I fucking did it.
I love that, Sam. I love that. Sometimes I'll like in a weird, like in one of my weird meditations, I'll like touch my womb and be like, good job, womb.
Good job.
You created life. Yeah, but I'm really hard on myself. I'm working on it. Even now after everything I've been through and rising again and bringing this body of work out, it's a vulnerable time to start sharing this and I'm trying to learn to do that more and to look in the mirror more and be like, hey, I did that. And like almost it's like, oh, this is good. I feel like when I do a good interview or when I'm interviewed well, it feels like therapy, when it feels good, Yeah.
Yes.
So here's my realization that you've helped me get to, which is that my new album is much like the baby. I made it. I did it. I already succeeded. I already birthed it. What happens next with that child, with my album, with the thing that you're making, if you're listening at home, it's really not up to, it's up to you a little bit. But I did the bulk of the work, and I should just be proud of the fact that I was the vessel and I let myself be worked through and created life in the form of an album or children. Yes. And why can't that be enough? I want to let that be enough.
It's so much. It is so much. You cannot control how the world receives this stuff. But I think the only true thing is to create from your heart. I really believe that. I'm like, the only thing that you can do is listen to what is in here. That's all we fucking have. At the end of the day, all we have is what is in our hearts and our minds. That is it. How you create, who you put around you, how you feed yourself with the people you put around you, with the things that you push out. That is all there is. Everything else is just, sometimes you could do like a nut commercial, I guess, like for pistachio. I don't know. Sometimes you just have to pay the bills. That's fine too.
Fair.
whatever. That's a different category of work. Let me tell you something. Here's something. Okay, this is dumb. Maybe it will tickle you. I don't know. Years and years ago, I wrote a book. It was like such a dumb book of essays, but they were funny. They were funny and they were from my life. And like, I was really proud of it. And I wrote it and I had like, anyways, whatever. I don't even know why I did it, but I loved doing it. It was a fun process, just writing this book. And then at the end, when it was all created, I was like, well, I did it. I don't know. And I couldn't talk about it at all because I was like, wait a second. Like, I can't talk about it. I'll cry. Like, I don't know how to talk about it because they're funny stories, but they are my life. Like, a lot of pain and like a lot of terror, like a lot of fear and like who I was when I was a little kid and like a very scared person is like in these stories. So I hired a media trainer to help me. I was like, I know that I can't talk about this book without somebody. I need you. I hired someone to tell me how to talk about myself because I couldn't do it without somebody helping me, like a stranger. Do you know what I mean? Like it's hard.
Yeah.
You've made a thing.
Yeah.
You've made a gem. You've made a jewel box. And it's just your
I
gift.
love that you did that. I love learning more and more about you, Sam. You're so cool. You're such a cool onion. And there's so much, you're such a beautiful person. I love that you wrote that book of essays and that you bared your soul in that way and that you understand what it means to put yourself out there and have.
It's surprising.
All of a sudden you're like, I guess this is what I'm talking. I guess this is what the art is right now.
Okay. Yeah. It's just,
and I understand not knowing how to talk about it too, because I think in a way that's how I felt almost about Mercy when I started to sing it.
Right.
It was so deep and so painful that I had to be trained almost in how to detach myself from the thing. And like, it makes a lot of sense to me that you had to have a stranger come and like remove you, Sam, from the little girl, Sam, so that you can look at it in the seat of the witness more. It makes a lot of sense because like you could re-traumatize yourself visiting those stories and talking about them publicly without training and help.
Yeah, you like have to practice. You have to hear a story about yourself to sometimes know what it is.
And say it enough times that it loses the charge. Like
100%.
Like the first time on stage I sang Mercy, I cried and had a back spasm because I also had a journey with chronic pain, which is lovely. What a fun, great buffet of
fun for touring. Good for touring.
Yeah. Lovely. But I've since learned that all of that was just different shades of the same thing, which was the, PTSD from the depression and la la la. So anyway, the first time I sang it, it was a disaster for me. The audience, I think, resounded with applause and tears in their eyes, but it was too much. It took too much. And so I really had to separate myself and say it enough times, say the story. I wrote this crying on my floor at 2 a.m. I wrote this crying on my floor at 2 a.m., praying to God for relief. Now there's no charge in it anymore. It's just someone else who was in their studio at 2 a.m. crying on their knees for relief. Okay.
That's really, I really relate to that. That's really great. That's, what song I've listened to on repeat? I know.
You're like, not yours, but I wanted to tell you about it. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
On total, I'm just like, can't stop. Can't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
Really? What does it bring for you? What does it feel? What does it make you feel?
It makes me feel, it feels like the purest songwriting. It feels like it comes from, that's the word that when I hear it, I'm like, the sound is pure. The intention is so present. It is like, it's like a clarion call in a way. Like it's just like a crystal, like when you hear a crystal and you're just like, oh, it's like it's just a pure song.
It's making me cry to hear that because I feel seen in that way, and I think I'm so longing to. One of the things that I'm having trouble detaching from what people how people respond is that I so desperately want to be seen for who I really am. I so desperately want them to know the real me. And so to hear that you do, or that you heard that in one of the songs, is like, it's just the sweetest balm on my, desperate soul for like, please
Oh,
see me, understand, and like, and hear. And thank you so much, Sam. It means so much to me. And I
well,
love that one too. It was just that. It was so pure. There was nothing except for just this simple longing for relief,
yeah.
and it was a sweetness. And my dad used to tell me that phrase in the song. There's a phrase,
Ah,
this too shall pass. My dad used to
right.
tell me that. So it was just a very, yeah,
Yeah.
it was a,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so
Oh,
much. I'm so glad. I love you, girl.
chills.
I
My
love you.
God. Okay. Well, we've all got to have the
Okay.
album. We've got to support your tour. We've got to
Mm.
support you. I feel that I feel that you will, I don't know, you're being seen and I appreciate you. Okay, that was Rachel Platten, and I had no choice but to look up one thing. She talked about having mixed feelings about Fight Song being used by the Clinton campaign, which got me wondering, how many artists have told Trump that he can't use their music? Well, it has been a whopping 23 times and counting, including Rihanna, Elton John, and Adele. Aw, I love it. Thanks for joining us. I'm Samantha Bee, and see you next week for more Choice Words. Thank you for listening to Choice Words, which was created by and is hosted by me. The show is produced by Tzvia Baron-Reinstein with editing and additional producing by Josh Richmond. We're distributed by Lemonada Media, and you can find me at Real Sam B on X and Instagram. Follow Choice Words wherever you get your podcasts or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership.